Okay, so we were doing these pesukim. This is a continuation of yesterday. Just let me translate it again. Nitzor b'ni mitzvahs avicha v'al titosh Torah simecha. My son, guard the mitzvah of your father and don't abandon the teaching or the Torah or the system of your mother. Kashem al libecha tamid, bind them to your heart always. Anim al gargosecha, adorn your neck with them. When you walk, it will guide you. When you sleep or when you lie down, it will guard over you, watch over you. And when you get up, it will converse with you. Or because a mitzvah is a lamp, v'torah or, and Torah is light, v'derech chaim tochos musar, and a way of life is rebukes of musar. Okay, so I actually don't remember much of what we said yesterday because I've been going through the Mefarshim. And did we have an approach worked out, or we just had like possibilities?
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Okay, fine.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah, somewhere in between. All right. So what I did was I found what I think is the most cohesive interpretation, which is the Meiri. Okay, so I want to go through the Meiri. Maybe that'll trigger thoughts. We don't have to like pledge allegiance to the Meiri or anything like that, but he had a good interpretation. So the first thing he said. So first of all, he says in terms of the grouping of the parsha, it is from 20 through 35. So just to show you what that looks like here. 20. The site. Okay, so Nitzor b'ni mitzvah savicha, so that's what we did. And I mentioned that the next pasuk 24 is to guard you from the woman, the Isha Nachriya. And then the rest of this is about guarding against the promiscuous woman, you know? So he learns it about that. He gives an introduction here about what the Derech Nister is. And the Meiri Shita in general is that the mashal of the Isha Chayil and the Isha Zona, or the Isha Nachriya, is the Isha is a mashal for Chomer, and the Baal is a mashal for Tsura. Not in general, but in terms of in the human being. So the Baal is a mashal for the Seichel of the human, and the Isha is a mashal for the body and the psyche. And an Eishes Chayil is a body and psyche that are conducive to living a life of Chachma. And then the Isha Zona is a body and psyche that is antithetical to, or like an obstacle to living a life of Chachma. So he goes through a whole intro where he explains that, but he also acknowledges that there is a nigla level, you know, a pshat level where it's about an actual woman. So that's how he learns the whole thing. And it does seem like he treats our pesukim as like an introduction to that. So it is related, but it could be learned independently. Okay, so let's see what he says. So he says, and I'm sorry, I can't make this any bigger. So I hope this is big enough on the screen. But if I make it any bigger, it just, yeah. See, it just blocks out the rest of the text. Wait, hold on. No, that's not doing anything. All right, fine.
Does all Torah not have the Meiri?
All Torah does not yet have the Meiri, and neither does Bar Ilan. So this is the only place to get the Meiri online. Okay, so now I lost my place again. Okay, here we go. So Nitzor b'ni mitzvah savicha v'al titosh Torah simecha v'hu k'inyan ma shebi'arnu b'pasuk shema b'ni musar avicha v'al titosh Torah simecha. So that's like you said, Isaac, as he's referring to us to 1:8. V'al shnehem wrote lamar al mitzvahs ha'av Torah sa'im amar kashem al libecha tamid. So it says about both of them, bind them to your heart constantly. Wrote lamar shelo tishkachem. So that means don't forget them. Andim al galgrosecha, wrote lamar al tzavarecha, means on your neck. Mashal she's asik behem tami. It means you should be involved in them constantly. Klomar sheya'amidim gamkin b'macham nigla. You should put them on display, really. Meaning you should put them in an open place. Sheyira'e osam. Sorry, so sheyira osam tamid v'yas asik behem, so that you see them constantly and are involved in them. V'ha'anida hi inyan kshira. So anida does not mean adorn. It means to bind or tie. Kamosha amar lamala kashem al gargrosecha. Like it says above, bind them on your neck. V'yitachin Shabab behifuch osios me'inyan hist kasher me ma'adanus kima. Okay, fine. And then v'yesh mefarshim oso miloshin adi adiyim. Some say it means adornment. So he's basically saying you should remember them constantly and be involved in them constantly. Okay, that's the only mashal. Sadigon says it means to adorn yourself with them, but it doesn't seem like the Meiri really likes that. By the way, I'm going through this really fast because we don't have a lot of time, and I want to get the big picture and then see if we can come up with an idea. All right, when you walk, it will guide you. Yedua, it is known, ki mitzvahs ha'av hu hashlemus ha'chaviv. All right, so this is where it gets interesting. The mitzvah of the av is the preferred perfection. Okay, ki roi liyaches hashlemus hayoser nichbad la'av, because it is proper to ascribe the greater perfection to the exalted level of the Father. Hein lefia nigla, hein lefia nister. Whether according to the non-metaphorical reading that is talking about an actual musr and guarding from a woman, or the hidden where the woman is the psyche. Vim kain mitzvah ha'av romes ala shlemus ha'acharon. So if so, then the mitzvah of the av refers to the later perfection. So again, just in terminology here, there's two perfections. There's perfection of midos, and then there's perfection of seichel. So he's saying, and the perfection of seichel is called the shlemus ha'acharon. That's how the Rambam uses it. So he's saying that mitzvah ha'av refers to perfection of seichel. The alpha pisha hotziu b'lashon mitzvah, even though, so this is that part I found really interesting from an interpretation standpoint, even though it expresses it in terms of mitzvah, v'haya roi yoser b'lashon Torah, and it would be better to say that perfection of the intellect is Torah, kimilas Torah yoser miyuchedes l'limud sichli, because the word Torah is more specifically a reference to intellectual learning, kinyan kiner mitzvah Torah, or as it says later on. Okay, so what I find interesting about that is he says, based on the av and ain, that it must be that mitzvahs avicha refers to perfection of the mind, and he acknowledges that that's difficult to say, that the word mitzvah points to that, and Torah would be more appropriate, but he still goes with it anyway. So it's an interesting in between level where he doesn't hold that mitzvahs avicha and Torah simecha are synonymous. Sorry for the honking. I don't know if you could hear that. But he's not saying that they're synonyms, and he is bothered by the fact that his interpretation doesn't line up so well with the denotation or connotation of Torah and mitzvah, but he says it anyway, So it's just like, I'm always fascinated by stuff like that, about how davka or lav davka are the Mefarshim willing to go in their intuitive interpretation. And he's saying like, okay, fine, it doesn't fit, but it's still the interpretation. All right. Then he says, Torah shem meshutaf. We already explained that Torah is a homonym. It means many things. Ukashiyomar Torah's aim, and when it refers to the Torah of the mother, Rotzelomar Tichunas Hanhagasa, it means the quality of her conduct, of her behavior. Okay. Or sorry, I don't know if Hanhagasa is her conduct or her managing of your behavior, like her overseeing of your behavior. V'chein kishyomer mitzvah ital ha'av rotelomar rotabo al hadavar asher yitavehu. Okay, yeah, so it means the thing he commands you and her governance of you. V'al mitzvahs ha'av amar b'hisalecha tanche oscha. Okay, so interesting. Regarding the mitzvah of the av, it says, when you walk, it will guide you. So that was a question that we had yesterday, which is, why is it switched from plural to singular? So he's saying it's plural to singular because it's only referring to one of them. It's only referring to the mitzvah of the av, which is intellectual perfection. So he says, shloshes mina techunos ba'amidas ha'adam. It's talking about three modes or stages in a person's waking life, or a person's activity. V'shekol zmano hu im achas mehem, and all of his time is spent in one of them. V'heim halicha, so that's walking or going. Ushchiva shebichlalo ha'amida, and then lying down, and included in that, I don't know what he means. Included in that is amida. I don't know what he means by that. V'hashnia, v'hashena, and sleeping. So I would say walking, sleeping, and waking. I don't know why it says bichlalo. Okay, whatever. So what does it mean when you walk, it will guide you? So you don't stumble. And you don't trip on a rock. When you lie down, when you are asleep, when you can't guard yourself, it will guard you. And when you wake up, it will converse with you. So this I found in another interesting one. Klomar, what does it mean? It will converse with you if you are afraid. Behavtacha, yeah, mikol mini pachada. It is a mashal for security from all fears. Okay, so it's guiding you, it's protecting you, and it is psychologically reassuring you. And all of that is the mitzvah savicha. Rabbeinu Zal darshu. Okay, fine. The Chazal darshan it as behis halecha b'shas misa. When you walk means when you die. B'shachvcha l'olam haba. When you lie down, that means in olam haba. B'hakitosa, when you wake up, that's in tchias mesim. V'hu nachon l'inyan hanisser. That is good for the hidden meaning. Okay, fine. Then he gets to the last part. V'amar achaken ki ner mitzvah v'torah or v'derech chaim tochos musar. U'mitzvah v'torah. Now this is another interesting thing. U'mitzvah v'torah hanemarim b'pasuk zeh eno ne'amar al mitzvah ha'av v'al Torah sa'im ha'amoros b'tchilas parsha. Even though he's saying it's the same parsha, he says it's not referring to the same mitzvah and Torah. Not what I would have thought. He says aval al mitzvah v'torah stam. It's talking about general mitzvah and Torah. Shakol bichlal mitzvah ha'av, both of which are included in the mitzvah ha'av. So you've got mitzvah ha'av, which is perfection of the intellect, and then Torah ha'im, which is the perfection of the midos. And within mitzvah ha'av, you have mitzvah and Torah. Okay, so let's see what he says that is. Mitzvah remez l'shleimus hamidos. Okay, never mind then. Maybe I misunderstood Torah ha'im. Okay, let's go with this. Mitzvah remez l'shleimus hamidos. Mitzvah here is a reference to perfection of midos. Shebichlalan hamitzvos, which the mitzvos are included in. Okay, nosnos seder v'hanhaga bein bnei adam, which instill good midos. Which instill a good order and conduct between people, interpersonal conduct. V'himanea hahezek b'ktas and l'ktas, and prevent them from harming each other. V'chiyuv ha'hanhaga b'tuv hamidos v'hahizaher mehefkan, and also includes behaving with good midos and guarding against their opposite. The Torah remez l'shleimus haseichel. Torah is a reference to perfection of the intellect. Shebichlalo hipanos hapinos hayunios, which also is theoretical theoretical foundations, like philosophical foundations. V'yachas haner lemitzvah v'haor l'Torah, and the relationship of the ner to mitzvah and the Torah, the light to Torah, liyisron malas haTorah, is due to the great stature of Torah. V'hu mash amru Rabbeinu Zal. This is what Chazal meant when they said mitzvah bifnei Torah kener bifnei chama. Mitzvah vis-a-vis Torah is like a lamp vis-a-vis the sun. Okay, meaning that it's redundant, or like it doesn't really provide anything because the sun's providing all the light. The Torah and Torah is light. The Torah stam bichlala, that's Torah in general. The tochas ha'av dima lener shu kale bichalos haner. This is also interesting. The rebuke of the father is compared to the lamp, which is extinguished when the candle burns out. Just like kechalos hatochas ha'av b'moso, just like your father's rebuke will end when he dies. VaTorah keshemesh, but the Torah is like the sun. Kinyan la'olam Hashem devarcha nitzav b'shamayim. Your word Hashem is forever standing in the heavens. V'chein shehaner lo ya'ir l'merachok. So too, the ner does not illuminate at a distance. Kitochachas ha'av b'bnei beso, just like the tochach of the father only lasts within the members of his household. But the Torah ta'ir l'chol olam, that illuminates the whole world. Kashemesh b'chati hashemayim, like the sun at noon. So what he's doing here is he's giving several mashalim for Torah and mitzvah and the sun and the ner. So he's not limiting it to one quality. Now let's finish up here. Amar derech chaim tochos musar, v'tochos musar hu shem kaful. That's just a double adjective, or double noun. Kamo admas afar, like the dust of the earth of the dust of the earth, the dusty dust. So that's just a tochacha. Okay, so that's what the Malbim says. Sorry, the Meiri says. Okay, let's go back. I'm just going to close this and open up our document again so we can see our questions here and see if we can put together something. Mishlei 620. Yes, that was a lot. Okay, so can we put together a cohesive picture? Again, not necessarily saying that we have to stick with the Meiri. But can we get like a main idea in the next 15 minutes? The Malbim also has something good on this, which you could take a look at if you want to later on, but it's too long for us to read right now and still have time to discuss.
I just have a question of like why does he specify like that the specifically the like perfection of the seichel is what like walks with you and all that? Like I understand the lashon is singular, but why
that's a
that
good
one?
question. I mean, it sounds like what he's doing, and maybe I'm wrong about this. It sounds like he's saying that given the fact that Tanche and Tishmor and Tesichach are singular, and given the fact that of the two, then perfection of the Seichel is the greater of the two, then it sounds like he's saying it makes sense to say that that's the one it's talking about. Now, if you're asking like how that works, that is something that we have to define, but I think that's what's making him choose that interpretation.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Because I would have said that the perfection of midos or hanhaga is more related to protecting yourself from an isha nachriya, or even in the nister, protecting yourself from the influences of the psyche, Yeah. And I would have also said in a drushy way that, I mean, I know this grammatically it works both ways, but the feminine, Tanche and Tishmor and Tisichacha, that could refer to mitzvahs avicha, but Torah simecha poetically, it seems to be like she will guide you and she will protect you when you're asleep and she will converse with you. Sounds much more like a motherly thing. There's nothing preventing us from saying that, by the way. Well, we just because the Meiri says that, we can definitely say that. In fact, I would say that. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say he also doesn't explain like how it protects you when you sleep. He just kind of says it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really explain what that means.
Right. So I like the explanation we said yesterday, which is that if you set up if you're making good decisions, like let's say, applying Mishlei decision making, so then there are certain benefits of Mishlei that you get in the particular decision, but then there's certain things that Mishlei helps you to do to set up your life in a way where the benefits accrue onto themselves, or just it prevents certain harm from happening. Like let's say, for example, just use a very basic Mishleic example, the ant, go to the ant and learn from its ways, that it prepares its food in the summer, and it'll have stuff to eat in the winter or whatever, So if you're following that advice and you prepare ahead of time, you won't have to be freaking out when the winter comes and there's not enough food, So that's like a way that when you are inactive, then the benefits of the lifestyle that you set up from Mishlei will accrue to you and will just prevent certain harms from coming to you, and will be like automatic in a sense.
Got it.
So I'm kind of talking myself into that shot I just gave on the Torah's aim. So let's see if this works here. Okay, so let's say the hold on just a second. Maybe I'm blending two things. Just give me 1 second here. Okay, let me try something else. Okay, mitzvah savicha. So I'm going to go with the pshat that Shlomo HaMelech is the surrogate parents here. Okay, mitzvah savicha is the specific ideas, like the specific pesukim that he gives. But Torah simecha is the general, like, Mishlaic thinking and Mishlaic lifestyle that emerges from all these teachings. And it's mitzvah savicha because it is a particular, and the Torah simecha is the general outlook or instruction, or way of guidance that you get from Mishlei.
Wait, what's the first thing?
First thing is the specific pesukim that Shlomo gives you. The specific teachings, the specific commandments, like
don't complain because it's going to make it more painful.
Exactly. Yeah. The particular Mishlaic ideas, the directives that he gives you. And Torah simecha is the way that Mishlei gets you to think in general, not tied to particular ideas. So kashem ali b'chatamid anim agar gorsecha is bind him to your heart constantly. And what did we say yesterday? We had a good shot on that. I think Isaac started it off. Do you remember what you said, Isaac?
That you're taking them and making them into like a cohesive unit.
Yeah, through the internalization was Kashma Alibecha, and then the
Yeah.
either talking about them like Rabbeinu Yonah said, or you said like you had something also like displaying them, right? Or like
Yeah.
yeah, right, like making them a part of your persona or your character. Again, I don't think those two are in contradiction. I think like just internal and external, you have to like get the ideas clear in your mind and think about them a lot, but then you also have to take external measures, whether it's talking about them, making them into part of your identity, giving Mishlei shiurim about them so that you like maintain a connection to Mishlei at all times, So that's like that's both of them. Okay, so then now I want to try this out. So when you walk, she will guide you. And when you sleep, she will protect you. And when you wake up, she will converse with you. So I want to say that that's the Torah Imecha. That's Mishlei thinking in general. And then Kiner Mitzvah Torah or Derech Chaim Tochos Musar, that's Mitzvah Savicha. That's the particular ideas. Let's see if that works. Kiner Mitzvah Torah or. See, then you get into the problem again, though, of Mitzvah and Torah. Is this the same Mitzvah and Torah or a different one? I was trying to pull a move like the Meiri did of saying that both of these are lumped under Mitzvah Savicha. Because the Tochos Musar definitely like is very much like the Mitzvah Savicha and Musar Avicha. Well, let's backtrack it again. Okay, let's stick with our interpretation of 20. So the particular Mishlei pesukim and Mishlei directives and Mishlei warnings are Mitzvah Savicha and Mitzvah. And then Torah is the general way that Mishlei promotes the Mishlei thinking. So Ner Mitzvah, so that's going to show you a particular area of decision making or particular insight into Chachma, that is like a lamp, just like the Meiri said, where it illuminates a limited range and it has limited usage, meaning that it runs out like when the candle burns out and it only illuminates a certain area. But then the goal though is to get the Torah Simecha and to think in a Mishlei way where you no longer need individual pesukim to make Shlomo Hamelech type decisions, but it's like being illuminated in the light of day, that you naturally think Mishleically even when you can't tie it to a particular pasuk. And Derech Chaim Tochos Musar, so what's that then? Because that's introducing a third element.
Could that be like summarizing what Torah Imecha will come out to be?
That sounds like it, right? I mean, but maybe it's even better. Maybe it's what both of them will come out to be. That if you, I mean, ultimately, I see what you're saying though, because like the Ner Mitzvah is going to lead to Torah or, but yeah, the only reason I'm trying to include Mitzvah Savicha in there is because Mitzvah Savicha is more similar to Tochos Musar. Derech Chaim Tochos Musar. It's a tough one.
Maybe it's like the path to life is through Musar, like the path like to, I don't know, like to like the I guess to the Torah's or is the Ner Mitzvah.
So what then is the I like that interpretation of Derech Chaim, but then what is the relationship between Tochos Musar and then Mitzvah and Torah? That's part I'm not getting.
Oh, Tochos Musar would just be referring to Mitzvah, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And that's the pathway to Chaim, which is the Torah's or.
Uh-huh. Okay, so let me try something out then. Okay. Further development of that is mitzvah. So maybe mitzvahs avicha and Torah Imecha are still in some ways both on the abstract level of like learning or thinking. But then in order for it to actually be a Derech Chaim, you need to apply it to your particular life. And that's the Tochos Musar. So in other words, Netzor b'ni mitzvah savicha v'al titosh Torah simecha means that you need to guard the particular ideas from Mishlei and the emergent Mishleic outlook. You need kashem al libecha tamid anim al gorgosacha means you need to internalize them and review them in your mind, but then also externalize them and make reminders of them constantly and make them a part of your identity. When you walk and when you sleep and when you wake, that's referring to the benefits that you get. You know, I'm going to go back to the pshat we said yesterday. That's not the Torah's aim. That's the unified thing. Okay, when you do this, then it'll have these effects. And then ner is like a mitzvah. A mitzvah is like a ner, in that it'll function in a limited way, both limited in range and limited in usefulness. And then Torah is like or, that's going to really illuminate your entire life. But in order for that to be a path to life, you need to actually treat these ideas as tochacha, meaning applying them to your particular faults and your particular mistakes and decision making, and then that's the full package. Meaning, if you only kept this on a intellectual level, then it's not going to actually lead to life. You know, you need to actually like apply it to yourself and like treat it as your father and mother giving you musar or tochacha. I mean,
it's a disproof to Rabbi Moskowitz.
Ah, yes, it is a disproof to Rabbi Moskowitz. Ha! Yep, good point. Okay, good. I feel like this is something at least now. Like we got something, okay? And not to say that it can't be refined or that maybe there are problems with it, but I feel like we got some idea from this package of pesukim though, so I'm happy with that.
What point of Rabbi Moskowitz?
The point that Rabbi Moskowitz says you shouldn't try to actively apply it to to force change.
Oh, yeah.
Just let it affect you naturally. Yeah. Rabbi Moskowitz is basically saying b'shach v'cha tishmor alecha. You know, like that's the just let it do its thing, you know. Okay, very good. If you think of anything else, let me know. But I think this is good for now. And then I guess plan to go back to our regularly scheduled programming for next week with chapter 19. Okay, have a good Shabbos.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
Shabbos.
you.
Thanks. Talk to you later.